Now, you mentioned something about forgiving yourself. I want to make a very specific point here. Do you know of a person called Dr. David Jeremiah?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you really need to look this guy up. He's a fantastic pastor who has influence all around the world. And when you mention you have to forgive yourself, now for those, now you specifically say that you kick yourself sometimes for a week at a time for doing something so insignificant, right? Now, what he had said stuck with me, and it was about, oh, it was like last month. Now, is your standard of forgiveness higher than God's?
Mm-mm.
So, now why are you so stuck on something that you can't forgive yourself when God has already forgiven
Mm-hmm.
you?
That's actually definitely something that I've struggled with in the past and still do sometimes struggle with is I'll beat myself up over something that in the grand scheme of things God has already forgiven me for it, and it's really just I'm sitting here not forgiving myself, which is absolutely silly because in a sense that's basically like saying that I know better than God in this sense, which is not true at all. And it's one of those fascinating lessons that I've had to learn. I say fascinating with every ounce of genuineness and truth in the word. It truly is remarkable, that lesson that I've learned, that it's like I do not know better than God. So what sense is there in in holding a grudge against myself when he has already forgiven me?
And that's kind of like what I was going to, because not forgiving yourself is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we all do it. We all do it. But again, how could our standard of forgiveness be higher than his?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. I get it. We are hard on ourselves because we're idiotic people. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
We just are. Man, when we are forgiven, we need to forgive ourselves as He's forgiven us. So, and we just have to keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's so difficult, I know,
Mm-hmm.
because our standard of forgiving ourselves comes from our own mind, our own heart, which again is completely imperfect. So, in our own mind, we tend to have these thoughts, these imperfect thoughts, because we are just ah, it's self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
It's we have this, and it's the same thing about trying to fit in. It's this need to feel good about ourselves that is not necessarily, that's not, we don't need that, but we think we need that, which is why we beat ourselves up for so long, because we want that self, that self feeling that we have suffered sufficiently
Mm-hmm.
when it is absolutely not necessary because we have been forgiven.
Yeah, I think that's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful point. Is that not forgiving yourself is silly, and so and quite frequently we as people, especially as believers, we have this odd sense of penitence I think sometimes we're fascinated with penitence too, to an unhealthy degree where we're just any mistake that we make, it's amplified by the fact that we know it's a mistake, and it's also now compounded on by our innate, I don't want to say it's a desire, but it's almost like we feel obligated to punish ourselves for something that we've already been forgiven for. It's really disheartening, but it's a very interesting phenomenon to look at just from the perspective of trying to understand what it is and why we do it. But it is very, very disheartening to see that so many people would struggle with that, myself included. I've struggled with it, and it's old habits die hard, and boy, was that a hard habit to kick.
Now we're gonna finish up here because we do talk forever.
Yep.
And that's one of the best things about us. But how do you take care of yourself? Because taking care of you spiritually is very important. But God gives us these bodies to take care of. As you said, they're unknown. So taking care of them is incredibly important. So you take care of yours quite well. And how is it that you would recommend for those needing to, let's just say if they're not doing such a good job of it, God wants to see his investment pay off? Because, I mean, I don't like to say this, but I keep defective off the line. But I think that's okay, because he was fine with the defectiveness, and it worked out, because without me being the way that I am, I couldn't do any of this. I would be doing something completely different, and this is what he created me for, despite probably dropping me at some point during the creation process. But how do you take care of yourself, and how would you advise people if they're having some trouble doing so?
Well, I feel very, very fortunate in that my job and my military obligation prevents me from not taking care of myself. Like, one of the primary orders of the day is go do your PT. Do your push-ups, go run, do your planks and your crunches, pull-ups, everything like that. That's your baseline level of fitness that is required of you by the military. And I feel very, very blessed that they have that sort of measure of accountability to all of us. It's like, if you can't pass this stuff, if you can't pass this very baseline, then you can't be with us. But even past that, I have a innate love and a great fondness for going to the gym and lifting weights. So taking care of my body has always come rather easy. I've always been a very active person. But I know that there are people out there that they loathe doing any sort of physical activity. And I have a roommate who is actually like that out in California, where I'm currently stationed. My roommate, I've tried to get him to go to the gym with me, and I managed one time to get him to, but it's like he doesn't like the feeling of the soreness of going to the gym and then waking up the day after, and it's like, oh, I can barely walk, I can't really move my arms and everything like that. And it's totally understandable. But to the people that are struggling with their personal fitness, in whatever capacity, find something. It doesn't have to be going to the gym necessarily. I know there are people that just don't like it. as a side note, trust me, go to the gym. It's not as bad as you think, and it's not some sort of like toxic man cave type thing. A lot of people are truly there to help everyone else succeed and to help everyone else get better. It's a place of self improvement, and that's what I came to learn after having gone to the gym for five years now. But whether you choose to go to the gym or not, going for a walk, doing stuff standing up as opposed to sitting down. A lot of us in class in my language course, when I was going through it, we would opt to stand up as opposed to sitting down. Because for sitting down for 7-8 hours a day, you can start to feel it. Your back will start to cramp up. Your hips, your legs. It's really uncomfortable. So we stand up a lot. We move around a lot. Doing stuff as simple as that can make strides. I've seen a success story. This guy, he was a couple 100 pounds overweight. He was like 400 pounds plus, and he started doing this yoga program. And he started doing like regular walks. Eventually, he got to the point where he could run and was doing jogs. And he documented all of this online. He started doing yoga and these walks and these runs, and he made fantastic progress in a year. He lost hundreds of pounds in a year. All really, really like healthily too. It was so inspiring to see. But for anybody that is struggling with fitness, it's just find something that even sounds remotely interesting to you and take it down to whatever level you need to start at and do it. Because no improvement comes without discomfort. There are going to be moments where you are going to be a little uncomfortable, whether it be taking that first step and getting a gym membership and going in, or getting out and going for a walk or going for a run. Taking that first step is the biggest thing, and it was just like the very first point that I made about being bold in your profession of faith. Be bold in your commitment to self-improvement.
And for personal experience, I think I got right. Yes, I do. Personal experience. I've been going to the gym for many, many years now, except for the winter because of health reasons. But as you said, it's not full of sweaty, muscle-bound dudes that are just like, well, okay, there's a couple of them, but they're very nice people. You'll find normal people. A lot of the people I run into are nice ladies that are just there to have some nice conversation and to work out as they do it. Although I do wish they'd stop watching those stupid programs as they walk on the treadmill. I hate those programs. Those stupid soap operas and whatever else they got on the dang television. Anyway, they find enjoyment out of it. I've got noise canceling headphones, so it's fine. But again, it just goes back to it's a comfortable environment. You don't have to be, and if you don't like big, gigantic gyms, like those huge ones, find yourself a small one. Find yourself cause like the one that you and I used to go to, the one in town here when you still lived here. It's very tiny. It's a very tight-knit community gym, and I'm sure that no matter where you live, you can find one like that. So it doesn't have to be this gigantic, huge, jumbo mall type of place. And might I also suggest go for a swim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a swim. That's also very fun.
Mm-hmm.
I also still swim in addition to going to the gym in the spring and summer,
Mm-hmm.
because that is, even if you're just walking in the pool, it's really good for your overall body. But in any case, yeah, just have some fun. Have some fun getting out. Just, you know, it doesn't have to be this. Like, you don't have to write it down. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be a workout plan or whatever. You just need to get out there, have some fun, and you'll see yourself improvement over time, but you can't give up on yourself. Too many people make this. We're coming up on January. So it's New Year's resolution time. Never make a resolution, because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna break it within the first 2 weeks. So just just get out there. Just get out there and do it. Don't make a promise to yourself, because you're never gonna keep it anyway. So just find a way to do it, and don't promise yourself anything. Because if you promise yourself anything, you're gonna try to hold yourself to it, and then when it doesn't work out, you're gonna quit. Here we go. Woo!
I think that's a an excellent point. Is I was just actually thinking we're coming up on New Year's, and the amount of people, there have been numerous polls every year, like numerous like questionnaires every year that'll come out, and it'll ask like, how are you doing on your New Year's resolution? And a lot more than half of the people that respond to these questions say like, I completely stopped after like a month at the most. Mm-hmm. And it really is sad, and it also is a direct reflection of, I guess, how we've gotten to be as a society as a whole. Is we've gotten so accustomed to being comfortable, and to just being handed everything, that now whenever there is a little bit of adversity, or whenever there's a need for some sort of accountability, we tend to shy away from it, because it's a lot. And personal fitness, it doesn't have to be a chore. I never see it as a chore. It can definitely be fun, and it's a place where I've had a lot of wonderful time just spent either with myself and solely by myself with my headphones in, just listening to music, or with another person, improving each other and having fun while we're doing it in whatever capacity that may be. But I think everybody does owe it to themselves to keep themselves physically fit as they can manage individually, because like we said, your body is on loan. It is not your own, and as such, we do kind of owe it both to ourselves and to the one who gave it to us, to God, to treat it with the utmost care. Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be this strict regimen like you said. It can be as simple as going out and just doing something. Walking, running, riding a bike, swimming was a great one. It doesn't have to be something super stringent or something that takes hours out of your day. It can be something that you do a couple times a week for 30, 45, 60 minutes, and that brings you a lot of joy and brings a lot of positivity to your life. And you know, it truly is a wonderful thing. To everybody that has ever like gotten out and made that sort of change, they all say the same thing. It's wonderful, and it's a blessing. It really is.
Yeah, see that over there, that trampoline? I love to get it out and just bounce on it for a little while.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time. It really is. I mean, I have to hold on to this chair because one, the whole height thing,
Yeah.
and also a balance problem. So I will probably fall off it. But yeah, you and I talked about we're both terrified of heights.
Yeah.
So getting on it is just that's a big step all on its own.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get we started going off again.
Yep.
But we're gonna start wrapping up here. So is there any last words, any last big chunks of wisdom that you want to give before we head out today? Dad?
I guess the biggest bit of wisdom is something that you and I have already touched on, and it's making it a point to be bold in your faith. A lot of the times, once people either make that first step or want to make that first step, they do it, and then they never do anything else with it. And so my biggest thing is I encourage those people, if you haven't already taken that step of faith, take that step of faith. Pray to God, pick up the Bible and read it, go to a Sunday service, something, you know. Just that small seed now can pay dividends further down the road. And if you are a person that's already done that, taken that initial step, but you haven't taken, you know, steps 2, 3, 4, and so on, rediscover that joy in whatever way. For me, it's music. I love music. I love listening to Christian bands, Christian rock bands in particular. But find something to reignite your passion for Christ and your passion for your faith, and run with it, and talk to people through whatever means who share your faith, because a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And if we do not connect with other believers, then the belief in the faith will die. So I would say be bold in your faith, be bold in your connections with others, and just love each other. Love everyone that you possibly can.
You just made a perfect segue, because there was something that I wanted to discuss at the very end, and it had to do with love. It's okay to use the words, I love you. The world today, those words are so misconstrued. Us as Christians use those words very frequently because the Lord loves us, so we are called to love all. And we often use the words, not just the words, but we often mean them. And I texted you for Christmas, and I said, Merry Christmas, love you. And that doesn't mean I have affection for him. but the world would see that text and immediately go right to the fact that I feel something for him in that way. That is how this world tends to twist things. So when we say that we love each other, and I'm pretty sure that would go the same way back, it does not mean that we, so saying the words I love you to somebody, and don't be afraid to say that to somebody, say that to a friend, say that to somebody that you do care for, and say it out loud to them, because it's okay to say that to people, because you do mean it. And no matter what the world has to say about it, you know what you mean, and God knows what you mean. If you don't say those words, you're holding in something that should be said. Because sometimes those simple words, I love you, might just change somebody's life. Possibly even save it if they're going through something that they just might want to end their life. Saying those 3 words might just keep them from ending it. Did I get it?
You hit the nail right on the head, Mr. Kimmy. I was just gonna mention that saying those words to somebody, you might not realize it at the time, but they could impact a life in more ways than you could ever imagine. I don't think I really could have said that better myself.
See, I hate doing it that way because I want you to say something about it, and then I just steal it all.
Whoever says it, that's the important part.
Yeah, I know, but I tend to get carried away because, I don't know, I tend to have a knack for this. But in any case, I do believe, I don't think we can talk anymore. What are we running on time here?
Oh, I don't even know. About an hour and a half.
Oh boy! We did it again! And this time we actually talked about the stuff we should have talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, alright then, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Now, this was actually split up into like 4 pieces, because I am not going to have you watch all this at one time, because I know my viewers do not have that attention span. I watch my analytics and not one of you have that attention span. So, this was definitely split up into like 4 sections. So, I will leave it with this. Ryan, I very much appreciate you so very much.
I appreciate you having me over for this. Thank you very much.
And always remember to smile.